Canadian Pacific Hudson type locomotive number 2816, known as the Empress, travels with an entourage of support equipment fitting for a locomotive of that name. One of those is Canadian Pacific 29114, a 40-foot express boxcar that has been converted into a tool car. I'm going to take you along for the ride as I made my own model of this car. I started with this, a sun-bleached Athearn blue box 40-foot boxcar. Since the car is going to receive a total repaint, the first thing I try to do is remove as much of the existing lettering as possible. The idea is for the old lettering not to show through the new paint. The more you can get off, the better. I tried using microsol and a pencil eraser, but that didn't seem to have much effect, so I chose the nuclear option, alcohol and a Q-tip. That will take just about anything off. True to fashion, it took both the lettering and the paint off. Fair enough. In hindsight, I probably should have kept going until I had the entire car down to black plastic, but this is where I chose to begin with the black paint on the roof and ends of the car. Yes, I know. Overspray everywhere. I'm gonna fix that when I paint the sides red. This was just the initial round of black paint. I took the car back outside for a number of little touch-ups before finally feeling ready to move on to the red paint. Okay, that one was on me. I was painting outside, so I can't blame the fumes either. Regardless, after a few more rounds of black paint, the car looked like this. For the red, or technically maroon paint, I masked off parts of the car I wanted to remain black. I took my time setting the masking up, as this is what can make or break the lines on the car. Patience pays dividends on this part of the job. In a few places, I used the tip of a mechanical pencil with the lead retracted as a probe to push the tape flush with the model. Once the car was all masked up, it went outside for an application of maroon paint. Getting the amount of paint right can be tricky. It can look like too much, but be just right. It can also look like not enough in the dark and start running down the model once it's back in the light. Regardless, here's what the car looked like once the maroon paint was on. At this point in the project, I was still trying to get the decals figured out, so I shifted gears to the mechanical side of the project. This particular car had a problem with the holes for the screws in its frame, so I opened them up a little with a drill bit and reminded myself once again that I should really use a pin vise for something like this. The real car has modern roller-bearing trucks, and I was going to install metal wheels on the car anyways. I went with Tichy modern trucks for this car, which are fine, but need to be reamed out a little to properly fit an Athearn blue box car. Another issue the car had was that the holes for the screws were all stripped out. I solved this by putting a dab of superglue onto a toothpick and spreading it around inside the hole to give the screws some new material to bite into. After the glue dried, I did a test assembly and found that the trucks held nicely. I also checked the coupler height and found all was correct. I then took the frame apart and prepared the trucks and wheels for weathering and painting. The wheels received a little brown paint, and the trucks were powder weathered. There's another video on my channel explaining this process in detail. Once the wheels were fully painted and dried, as were the trucks, the frame of the car went back together and was set aside. Back to the car body. The ladders and hand irons are black on the prototype, so I paint them by hand on the model. I take a brush, dip it in black paint, drain some of the paint off the brush, then lightly brush the parts, applying only a little paint at a time. I did some masking beforehand. The idea here is to have a light touch, but be thorough. The last thing to do on the car is decals. Because no one that I know of offered decals for this car, at least at the time that I made it, I had to draw up my own graphics and get them custom printed. This was its own adventure, with no fewer than 4 attempts made before I finally got the decal sheet to do what I wanted it to do. Once I had the decals nailed down, however, I pulled the boxcar back out and applied these custom printed decals. Unlike previous decals I put on models, these decals did not like the method of being floated onto microset, so I put drops of water onto the side of the model and slid the decal onto that. When using water, I gradually work with the Q-tip to partially draw the water out from under the decal, bringing it lower and lower and moving the decal with the dental pick until it is just about where I want it. I then roll the water out from under the decal. If the decal doesn't settle the way I want it to, I can put a drop of water on it and let that lift the decal, either partially or entirely, and try again. Once the decals are applied to one side, I give that area of the car a gloss coat application to lock the decals down. I find that for gloss coat, once it's applied, the car needs to be given at least 12 hours to dry before you touch the coated surface. Fingerprints form very easily on it until that point. I repeated the decal and gloss coat process on the other side of the car. Once that was complete, I later applied the reporting marks and numbers to the ends of the car. Those decals marked the end of the decal process, and the application of gloss coat to the ends of the car closed out the paint and decal work. From there, reassembly was all that remained after the gloss coat had a chance to settle. Well, there it is. I started the project in June, and the finished product is seen here at the end of September. All told, though, I like it. A lot of time was eaten by trying to get the decals right, but from everything I've learned, I think the next custom decal set will go a little quicker. I learned a few things making this car, which means it was a project worth undertaking. One other thing. If you find yourself frustrated because a project is stretching on much longer than you hoped, there's no shame in that. It's your model, it's your railroad, you go at your own pace. Now, I didn't just do this one car over the course of 3.5 months. As I got decal sheets in, I did up a few prototypes. I'll close with a look at all of those behind 2816. Stay safe out there, and enjoy the world's greatest hobby.